Any word has so many meanings, including the word reading.
I can only truly speak from the perspective of what I am.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless.
Most monolingual speakers think that other languages are basically just their language with different words in a slightly different order and maybe a different way of writing.
Sleight of hand?
That's what it is, sleight of hand, yes. You slighted them with your hand.
You in the mood for anything else?
Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot.
Can I get a tall chai?
A large black coffee.
You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Like,
Nobody, your actual language, nobody teaches you. I mean, your language just grows in your head.
Did you see the leaves? Oh my God! Last week they were green and now they're brown.
You did not just offer me your old man dick.
Do you mean a venti?
No, I mean a large.
He means a venti, yeah, the biggest one you got. A venti is large.
it was in a script. It said, Lucille Ball type.
For example, the word read, to read, means to guess.
Now water can flow, or it can crash.
And you ask the question, why do you have to teach people? Well, you have to teach them because it's artificial. It's not their language.
Look it up in the big dictionary.
Is it true?
Mr. Hoggins should apologize to the trees felled for the making of his bloated autobio novel.
What? Ricky, the plants are alive? Of course the fucking plants are alive.
They're fucking dead, you sicko. They're fucking dead. And you're doing crafts with their corpses. You have no respect.
No, venti is 20.
Danny.
Yeah. Large is large. In fact, tall is large, and grande is Spanish for large.
What is a critic but one who reads quickly, arrogantly, but never wisely?
I'm a speed reader. My eyes work fast.
That was a living thing, you monster. We talk about it. What are you going to do with your dead leaves? I'm going to make a pile on the front lawn so the kids can play in the death.
After all, if we're seeing the world our ancestors put into our language, we're not seeing the world we're living in.
I'm going to make a wreath on the front door as a warning to other dead leaves not to fuck with me.
You can get lost in other people's opinions and want to defend yourself.
Okay, fine. Whip it out. Come on, whip it out. Miss Mackenzie!
What the fuck is going on here?
This old fool just eggplanted me.
I'm 47 and I have no idea what that means.
Oh, he's the eggplant. More like a finger-length potato.
You want a burger for lunch?
No thanks, I just ate some vegan.
Did you just eat a leaf? I did.
The word redan means to guess, and reading is actually an activity of rapid guessing.
I just don't want to have to tell him. I just want him to know.
No, they never just know.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
And then, you know, people misrepresent what you said or distort what you said or take it out of context.
Yeah. The worst thing to call somebody is crazy, is dismissive.
And then you're like, hey! And then you think, well, how many people are reading that and thinking the wrong thing about me? And
I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy. They're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick.
Imagine prisoners that have spent their entire lives chained deep inside a cave. They have been chained so that they cannot see behind themselves. And they are forced to stare endlessly at the cave wall in front of them.
Evidentiality. In the same way that time is baked into English sentences, there are languages all over the world where evidence is baked in. If you're reporting something that happened, you have to include whether you personally witnessed it or not.
This is the only world that the prisoners have ever known. The shadows and the echoes of unseen objects.
Some languages have 5 or more different categories of evidence, based on whether you saw it with your own eyes, experienced it firsthand but it didn't involve seeing, whether you've inferred it from something else, whether you're reporting what someone else has said. All these concepts, which are fairly complicated to explain in English, are expressed just by how you change the ending of a word.
Behind them, a fire is burning. And between the prisoners and the fire is a raised walkway. Now imagine that each day, a menagerie of objects crosses the walkway. Animals and people carrying their wares to market.
There's a library on the farm of books that have been left behind by past travelers.
Their shapes create an intricate shadow play on the wall in front of the prisoners.
It's obvious that our ancestors did not live with computers, spaceships.
So when technology develops, you get a whole new vocabulary.
What exactly is a Maharaja? I mean, do you have to go to a school for that?
Y'all was born into the game.
Time independence. If you want to describe an activity in English, you have to say when it happened or when it will happen. You have to.
Sometimes we think sex itself is sexy.
Great news.
But other times...
That's how verbs conjugate. There is no way in English to describe the concept of a person and dancing, but not to mention anything about time.
The horizontal mambo?
Other times we imagine a faceless dude walking around with a baby and a baby Bjorn, and that's sexy.
So babies and no faces are sexy?
Or maybe you could just text them airplane, wine glass, Italian flag, eggplant, donut, donut, donut.
No, you tiny dum-dum, it's a lot of different things.
Chinese, on the other hand, verbs don't conjugate. In most cases, the meaning is obvious from context. I don't want to imply that Chinese doesn't have a tense system. It does. It's just not a requirement. It's not baked into every single sentence by default.
It will bring more understanding.
Yeah.
More things that are, hey, like different, you know? And maybe in the contrast of comparison, some new thing might grow.
Sometimes we think like a smell is sexy, or sushi, or Dr. Drupinski,
What?
or like a million other incomprehensible things, you know what I mean? So,
Clusivity. The word we is confusing. Imagine going up to someone and saying, "Hey, we've just won the lottery!"
Hey, squanchers! The party's squanching on in my place!
There are two possible meanings there. Number one, we refers to the speaker and the listener. We've just won the lottery! Brilliant!
As either of you, or all three of you. What word means all three of you? Do any of you?
Use all.
I'm new to your language. Use all, yeah.
Use all.
Number two, we refers to the speaker and the speaker's friends, but not the listener. We've just won the lottery, but you haven't.
Morty, you gotta flip him off. I told him it means peace among worlds. How hilarious is that?
Well, that is one of the difficulties. That's why people get embroiled in weirdities while they're reading my books, because I'm dissolving the difference between the inside and the outside. Like most people think their head is inside the universe.
Isn't the experience the exact same thing? And is our mind locked into the idea of a physical thing, like this laptop? I can pick it up, I can drop it, I know it has weight, I can touch it, I can measure the width.
This whole studio, for instance, it's got to be inside my head or I wouldn't be aware of it. I've got a model of it inside my head. Now, inside that model of the studio is a model of me. And on top of the model of me is a model of my head.
It's kind of fucked that we're stealing steel, boys, when you think about it.
What?
Well, steel's the only thing you could steal that it's itself, right?
But that's not my real head. My real head contains the studio and my body and this model of a head.
Ricky, what the fuck are you talking about?
You okay, Ricky?
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know, if we weren't stealing steel, we'd be stealing something that wasn't steel. So stealing steel is kind of like...
And it's the same with the whole universe. The whole universe is a model contained in my head, which contains a model of my head.
Oh, my brain's a fucking asshole sometimes, boys.
So I've got two heads, the head outside the universe and the head inside the universe.
Figure out a way to take in all information and then filter out the shit that's not real and keep the real stuff.
And FYI, it's called a venti because it's 20 ounces. 20! Venti!
You realize you've become a type
Yeah,
that you're...
that was one of the biggest. I said, oh, I didn't care. I didn't get the part.
Yeah.
but at least I was something that was identified with, you know.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to be typed.
Let's say if you learn to speak Chinese.
Yeah.
And it's not difficult to learn and speak the word.
Squanchy party, bro!
Oh, squanchy!
Is there a good place for me to squanch around here?
Squanchy, you can squanch wherever you want, man. Mi casa es a su casa, dog.
All right!
The hard thing, the difficult thing, It's behind what is the meaning, what brought on the expression and feelings behind those words. Like when I first arrived in the United States, and I look at a Caucasian, and I really would not know whether he was putting me on or is he really angry, because we have different way of reacting to it. See, those are the difficult things, you see.
Don't worry, you look really cool.
It's almost as if you came upon a strange race where a smile didn't mean what it does to us.
I would love to see it.
In fact, a smile doesn't always mean the same, does it?
Of course not.
You!
What did you say to me?
You told me it means much obliged.
Oh, right. Blow me.
No. Blow me.
Well, one of the points that you often make is that we get caught up in these apparent paradoxes because of linguistic habits and a habit that we've had since the time of Aristotle of thinking in terms of syllogistic logic.
We don't, in our world, and haven't since the days of the Greeks who did, combine philosophy and art with sport. But quite clearly, the Oriental attitude is that the three are facets of the same things.
Man, listen, you see, really, to me, ultimately, martial art means honestly expressing yourself.
Beth, squanchy culture is more contextual than literal. You just say what's in your squanch and people understand.
Now, it is very difficult to do.
In languages with clusivity, there are different words for we, depending on whether you're including the listener or not. It shows up in languages in South Asia, Australasia, and all over the world, apart from Europe. I really wish English had clusivity, because once you describe it, it's a blindingly obvious missing thing that we all, could really use.
Well, yeah, I believe our language, we can only see what we observe, and we can only observe what we have categories for in our language.
All these fantastic features are one of the reasons why keeping minor languages alive is important. If English had utterly dominated the world and stamped out every other tongue, then we'd lose not only these rich languages, but we'd lose the insights that we gain of what the human mind is capable of. So, here's my question to you. Can you think of a brand new language feature? Something that every language should have, but doesn't?
In fact, there's nothing stopping you from bringing any of these puppies back on the scene. All it'll take is stubborn determination and the convincing of an entire civilization.
There's no time to squanch! Get your family out of here!